Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the 2021 EMI-SIG annual meeting. Today's presentation, Becoming a Storm-Ready Community, is brought to you by Marta Blythe. Marta has worked in emergency management for over 16 years, including DuPage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and Argonne National Laboratory. She is currently responsible for Argonne's training, drills, exercises, and readiness assurance programs. On an administrative note, we ask that you save all of your questions for after the presentation, or if you would like to enter them in the chat, we will ensure they get answered during the Q&A session. Remember, you can earn points through participating through the Attendify app. The more you participate, the more points you get. At this time, please join me in welcoming Marta to our virtual stage. Marta, the floor is yours.
Hi there, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be discussing with you on how to become a storm-ready community. 7 topics will be covered today to ensure that you have the basic information needed to decide if becoming a storm-ready community is right for your organization. We will take a quick look at current StormReady sites across the country, the intention of the StormReady program. We'll also discuss StormReady incentives, the application process to attain StormReady recognition, criteria to meet the guidelines of the StormReady program, the StormReady recognition ceremony, and then renewal of the StormReady recognition. For purposes of this presentation, I will focus on storm-ready communities only, not storm-ready supporters or tsunami-ready programs. Even though this information and this certification is very important, today it's about the storm-ready community. So from the National Weather Service website on June 24th of this year, they list 3,041 storm-ready sites across the U.S., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Pacific Islands. 1,494 counties, 25 parishes, 1,128 communities with 22 Indian nations, 85 government and military sites, 291 universities and colleges, and 183 commercial sites. So for those folks who really enjoy a good graphical representation of information, I've included a slide that shows the entire country, Puerto Rico and the islands, and you will see how the breadth and depth of the storm-ready program throughout the country. In red, I have circled the state of Illinois. And in Illinois, just to give you an idea where all those circles, those dots, what do they all represent? Well, in Illinois, we have 114 sites. 33 counties, 90 communities, 19 universities and colleges, 1 government organization, that's Argonne National Laboratory, and 6 commercial sites. The yellow areas are those areas across the country that are not storm ready or do not have a storm ready designation. I last viewed the National Weather Service StormReady website about 2 weeks ago, and this is the current DOE StormReady sites listed on that website: Argonne, Idaho, Pantex, and the Savannah River site. So you'll see there's lots of areas across the country in which DOE organizations, the DOE sites, can start to complete the requirements and become storm-ready communities. So, what is the intention of the StormReady program? Well, there's 3 things that it really hopes to accomplish. The first is to take a look at how can we best reduce those fatalities, injuries, and minimize that property damage related to storms in a way that we can provide timely distribution, receipt, and effective communications of that hazardous weather and flood warning information between the National Weather Service and emergency managers and the public. The second is to actually provide detailed and clear recommendations to the emergency managers so that they may be able to establish or improve their hazardous weather and flood planning, operations, and the public response. And the third is to empower all Americans to make better decisions before and during weather and flood hazards throughout community preparedness. There are many incentives to becoming a storm-ready community. I'm going to list only 6, but I hope it will be enough to prompt you to pursue storm-ready recognition. Well, first off, and perhaps most importantly, it's been proven to help save lives. The program improves coordination and timeliness of hazardous weather dissemination, reception, and response, strengthens the working relationship between emergency managers and the National Weather Service. It also helps emergency managers justify the costs and purchases related to our hazardous weather and flood preparedness programs. It also enables us to improve our community image. And lastly, it allows us to recognize the emergency managers for their hard work helping the community reduce vulnerability to hazards and to cope with disasters. So this is probably where you're really hoping that the meat and potatoes will be presented to you, the application process. Well, the National Weather Service makes this application process a fairly easy one. They will guide you through the entire process. First off, contact the local warning coordination meteorologist. The WCM will help you walk through the process. You will fill out the application form. It's form fillable. It's very simple, and you will send it to the local WCM. Then, working with the WCM, you will host or arrange a verification visit that will include at least one National Weather Service staff person and one emergency manager. Once the visit has been completed, the verification of all the requirements has been met, then the local advisory board will take that application and approve it. Who is on that local advisory board? Well, there's at least 4 people. The National Weather Service meteorologist in charge, the National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist, the State Emergency Management Agency Director or Designee, and then the Local Emergency Management Association President or Designee. On the bottom of the slide is the URL for the StormReady program. That is where you will find all the information that you need. If you don't already have a relationship with your local National Weather Service office, here is a page. I did a screenshot from the website that will direct you to the correct contact person, providing contact information for each state. And click on that state, and it will provide that to you, just looking for your county. Here's the website also on the screen that will provide that contact information site. So the guidelines, how do we actually get through this application process? What do we need to do? Well, there are 8 StormReady guidelines that we will discuss over the next few slides. The first will be looking at communications and the dispatch centers, as well as your EOC. The next, National Weather Service warning and information reception, warning dissemination, hazardous weather and flood monitoring, communications, planning, training and exercises, and then community preparedness. And I am certain that at your organization, many of the items needed to complete this application process are already in place, either fully or partially. And that's the great thing about taking a look at this program. Because of the professionals we are in emergency management and working within the DOE complex, a lot of these items are already in place. So here's a graphical image, a screenshot from one of the guiding documents. So first off, we worked with the National Weather Service point of contact, and we determined what the population would be that we would then need to follow the requirements for. And it was determined we would take a look at our typical occupancy, site occupancy at Argonne, and we would fall within this category here of 2,500 to 1,499 persons. As we go through the next few slides, you'll see I have marked in red then those items that we then are responsible for completing. So guideline 1, this is that area looking at communication dispatch centers and the EOC. Every organization, as you see there with the X's, needs to be able to operate a communication or dispatch center that serves as a 24-hour warning point, and then operate an EOC. The second section, or the second component of the process, is communication and information sharing. There are 4 guidelines in this section. Warning and information reception. In the case here for Argonne, we needed to be able to demonstrate that we have 4 ways for the warning point and the EOC to receive warnings and information. Moving on down to guideline 2, warning dissemination, we need to be able to ensure that we can maintain 2 ways for the warning point and EOC to disseminate information, and then operate public alert certified NOAA weather radios in key public facilities. The third guideline for component 2 is hazardous weather and flood monitoring. Again, maintain the required number of ways to monitor hazardous weather and flood conditions. In this case, we have the requirement for two ways to monitor that weather and flood condition. And then the fourth is all about the communication piece, ensuring routine communications between the National Weather Service and the Emergency Management Organization or agency, and then to be able to communicate within and across jurisdictions through resilient and redundant methods. Now moving on to the third piece about preparedness. And in emergency management, this is just one of the steps that we need to accomplish for all of the work we do, looking at preparedness. So in this case, the third guideline here, preparedness, the first step is looking at planning. We need to be able to present an emergency operations plan, an EOP, or other formal plan that will outline our hazardous weather and flooding preparations and response. Then we will move to the second portion here on trainings and exercises, where we are required to conduct an exercise relating to natural hazards every 3 years, train spotters and dispatchers. And then if any of you fall into the fourth category with high population, you would need to host or co-host biannual National Weather Service spotter training. Easy for me to say. Lastly, on this preparedness piece is community preparedness. And we were able to demonstrate at least 2 ways in which we are able to conduct weather safety activities. So once you've gone through the application process and you have attained that StormReady recognition, the National Weather Service will work with a point of contact at your organization that will put together a recognition ceremony. After all, let's promote the good work that we all do to prepare and protect our site occupants. So what does this recognition ceremony look like? A typical ceremony includes a formal media announcement and a combination of one of 3 ways, or one of 3 items. First is unveiling of the official StormReady sign. That's pretty darn exciting. It is a way that if you post these signs across your laboratory or at entrances, everyone will be able to see that your organization is a storm-ready community. StormReady Community. Then there will be a presentation of the certificate of recognition. And lastly, if it's desired, there will be a press conference with representatives from your organization as well as the National Weather Service for your area. So now you've gone through all this hard work, you've received your storm-ready recognition. Well, every 3 years, you need to take a look at the renewal process. That storm-ready recognition is valid for 3 years from the date of the official letter of recognition. 6 months prior to the expiration of your recognition, a renewal reminder is sent to the local weather office, the local warning coordination meteorologist, and they will then begin the process, the renewal process, with the point of contact for your organization. At that point in time, the National Weather Service will verify the original application, making sure that that information still applies. Basically, they'll take a look to see if that contact information is correct, that your records are up to date. Pretty straightforward process. It's just a verification of your original application. Once it's verified, that renewal date is updated in the StormReady database, and you're good to go for another 3 years. Following that initial 3-year renewal, subsequent renewals will require an initiation of that full application process. So then you'll apply again, doing the full application, you'll get approval. That 3 years later, you'll get a renewal. 3 years after that, the full application process. So what did we learn at Argonne? What additional effort did we need to put forth to attain storm-ready recognition? Well, as I mentioned earlier, many sites are at least part of the way to attaining this recognition, but we recognized that we needed to enhance our already existing preparedness campaigns, do additional training and safety talks, also ensure that we had built in additional redundant systems for making notifications for our outdoor warning siren activations and weather monitoring. We also had to enhance our storm spotter, weather spotter cadre. We had to formalize it a bit and do additional training. We'd already been doing exercises that involved weather scenarios, but we had to bump those up a little bit, push ourselves a little bit more, and we needed to start inviting, well, I shouldn't say we needed to. We started inviting the National Weather Service from our local office, and they now participate whenever they can in all of our severe weather exercises. And lastly, and perhaps sometimes the most difficult piece of this, is to ensure that we harmonized all of our severe weather procedures and plans across the entire organization, the entire Argonne organization, to ensure that everyone was on the same page when it came to monitoring weather, disseminating weather information, and across that entire process. So, pretty simple, right? So here's a picture of our North Gate sign, and you'll see we have posted our Storm Ready designation signs. We actually have those posted on all 3 gates. And what's really nice about these Storm Ready signs is that they will actually, the National Weather Service will actually provide you with the artwork. So if you wish to have additional signs, you can actually order them from the National Weather Service, or if you have an in-house group that makes signs, you can have additional signs made as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but first off, I will thank you for your time, for joining me today, learning about how to attain storm-ready recognition. Thanks so much. provide you can I order them from the National Weather Service, or if you had
Thank you, Marta, for that presentation. At this time, we'll go ahead and answer any questions, starting with the ones that are entered in the chat. If anybody has any questions you'd like to ask Marta, go ahead and enter those into the chat tool, and we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. Okay, Marta, what was the most challenging part of becoming a storm-ready community?
Oh gosh, I think the most challenging piece was just gathering together all the disparate pieces of our program and pulling them together, taking a look at the various requirements from the National Weather Service. And as I had in one of the slides there, just bumping up some of our existing programs to ensure that we were fully meeting all the requirements. We're very fortunate in the Chicagoland area that there are many, many communities that are already storm ready. So if need be, we could be reaching out to any of our neighboring communities for any assistance in guiding us along that path. But ultimately, Kimberly, it comes down to just the gathering of that information because I think so many of us do have the strong emergency management programs, preparing for weather. It was just gathering up that information into that one application.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for answering that question. We did have a couple of questions come into the chat. Terry Noor would like to know what other DOE and NSA sites are storm ready?
Okay, I believe it's Savannah River site, Pantex, Idaho, and Argonne. And so there is a little bit of room for improvement across the DOE complex to get more organizations storm ready. And I highly recommend that everyone take a look at those requirements and see what you can do to become a storm ready community.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It looks like that was the last question in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and close out. Before we close out this meeting, I would like to say thank you to everybody for joining this meeting today and being a part of Marta's presentation. If you have not already done so, please don't forget to locate this presentation in the Attendify app and make sure you complete your session survey. The survey is what gets you credit for being a part of today's meeting. In addition, remember whenever you're accessing your app that you can connect with others, you can plan your schedule out, you can bookmark presentations that you really like to be a part of. It'll give you a cool little reminder. Post pictures, share information. Tell us how you're feeling about the EMI SIG meeting so far. And the last thing I wanted to let you guys know is that we are going to be having a virtual social hour this evening. Tonight will be at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and today's occasion is Tuesday Formal Dress or Costume Competition. So look forward to seeing everybody at that this evening. Everybody have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being a part of Marta's presentation.
Thank you.